If you're new to sports cards, or even somewhat new to sports cards, you just found an amazing video. I have been flipping and investing in sports cards for a full year now, and while I'm nowhere near an expert or some kind of sports card guru, I have learned a ton of things. In this video, I'm outlining my top 10 things I've learned and things I wish I knew starting in sports cards. Number one, the hobby is the business for a lot of people. Let me explain. So there's a sports card spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, you have your collectors. These are people that they collect the cards because they love the cards, they love the teams, they love the players, they love the sets. As someone who wanted to have a little side business and a side hustle, I had wrongly assumed that 98% of the market is just these collectors. What I didn't realize is on this end of the spectrum, you have not only card shops and established brick and mortar businesses, but you also have flippers. And these are people like me that are trying to run a little profitable business. For a lot of people, that's the hobby, that's the exciting part. And there are people all the way in between the spectrum. So I learned very quickly that a lot of people in the hobby, I would argue maybe half the hobby, are these flipper types of personality, types of people. And that's also not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. The more people in the hobby, the better. The more buyers, the more sellers, the more buzz just in general. All good stuff. Okay, number two. So if you're like me and you want to have a little side hustle with sports cards, you want to make sure you're buying the right card, not the wrong card. So I came into it knowing what a lot of people know, that rookie cards is the way to go. And that is true. However, there are so many different sets. It can be so overwhelming at first just to see all these sets, but it's really important that you understand them. I'm gonna open my case back here, and you'll see I'm gonna grab two cards here. These are both Joe Burrow rookie cards, PSA 10s. Well, what's the difference? A Joe Burrow rookie is a Joe Burrow rookie, right? Who cares? Wrong. Very important to understand. This is a Prism base rookie. This is a Luminance rookie. This is worth 100, 150 bucks. This is worth 30 bucks. Absolutely matters what rookie cards you're buying. I'm not gonna go into all the different sets right now. That's a whole other video, and I'm sure other people have done better than I could do in explaining how the different sets work. But if you're new to the hobby and approaching it, you need to understand the different sets. Which ones are valuable, which ones are not. This whole industry works off of supply and demand, and there are a lot of sets that just have huge amounts of supply, but do not have the demand to back it up. Number three, hype drives value. Now I should clarify, I focus specifically on football and basketball cards, and this principle is probably the most true with these types of cards. I don't know as much about baseball, hockey, soccer, but I used to think that what would cause a card's value to go up is just good performance, and that a good player will retire and go to the Hall of Fame, and they had a good career, and their value will just always just go up and up and up over time. Not true. In fact, a lot of even Hall of Fame players, cards go down and down and down over time. Why is this? It's all to do with hype, supply, and demand. The players with the most hype brings the most amount of people into the market, particularly this collector batch. Matthew Stafford, pretty good performance. He won a Super Bowl recently. He's always been a solid quarterback. He's a possible Hall of Famer. His card market hasn't really exploded. Whereas look at Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's card market is huge comparative to what he's actually accomplished. He's accomplished very, very little on the field, and yet there's a ton of hype, there's a ton of buzz, there's a ton of excitement. Just that alone is increasing the value because it's bringing more people into the market, whereas a lot of people might not be thinking about Matthew Stafford. And a big part of that is actually wins. If you look at really good players on really bad teams, their card prices are cheap. Generally speaking, Cade Cunningham's a good example. Really good player on a horrible team. Whereas you could have other players that have pretty good performance on a really, really good team, and their card value goes crazy. Lamar Jackson's a good example of that. Brock Purdy. Good players, but the wins also translate to the hype. So that brings me to the fourth thing I've learned, which is timing the market. I came into sports cards right away thinking, okay, you buy a card, and then immediately you list it for 2 weeks later, and you try to make a profit. I guess you could do that and maybe have success with that, but it'd be really, really hard. So thinking about hype, you really want to try to buy cards with a lot lower hype, but that have potential to get a lot of hype. A good way to do this is buying in the off season. A little rule I have for myself: what I'm buying now is not what I'm going to try to sell in a week or 2 weeks. What I'm buying now is going to be what I sell in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. You can anticipate hype. It's really hard to buy a card and flip it in 2 weeks and make money, but you can a lot easier buy a card and flip it in 6 months. Maybe you're buying a football card in May or June when no one's thinking about football, and then you're selling it in September when everyone's excited and can't wait for football, and they're so excited football's finally here. I'm buying now what I'm going to sell in 3, 6, 9 months. Thing number 5 I learned might be my favorite one. It's the power of buying and selling in person. When I came into the hobby, I already knew eBay was the place to go. While sales were steady but slow, my first sports card show that I went to, I took all my nice slabs with me and I went around to tables, went around to people. In one day at a sports card show, on my first show, I sold what would have taken me 2 months online. And on top of that, don't have to pay shipping, don't have to pack the cards, don't have to pay eBay fees for selling. And you can also find a lot of good deals. There's tons of people who don't list their cards online or who just want to get out of certain cards. Buying and selling in person is amazing. You should absolutely do it if you're taking this seriously. Point number 6 that I've learned is you have to keep track of your data. I keep track of everything on this spreadsheet. I keep track of everything I buy, every pack of top loaders that I buy, all the bubble mailers, every single card I bought, I keep track of. Every time I sell it, I log the sale, I take out the fees, I make sure everything in my spreadsheet matches what is reality. If I bought a card for $20 online, that's actually gonna come out to $26.43. I'm not gonna put $20 on this card, I'm gonna put $26.43. That's how much it cost me to obtain that card. Which also means if I'm gonna sell it online, I need to sell it for like 40 bucks to even make a profit, which is another plug for selling in person, which is awesome. And I can see how easy it would be for someone coming to this hobby to just get financially destroyed by just not keeping track of this stuff. You have to keep track of your stuff, and doing so has painted me a really clear picture of, okay, what is working, what is not working? What sales did I do well on? Should I maybe look at getting more of that card or more of that player? Which ones did I think I was gonna do well on that I did really bad and I've consistently been doing bad, I need to stay away from? Probably the biggest thing my data has taught me over this last year is also thing number 7 that I learned, and that is do not buy wax. Do not buy sealed product. Do not buy brand new cards. You will, with certainty, be absolutely crushed. It's literally designed that way. I mean, they wouldn't be able to make money. Like, the market wouldn't work if every box was just, if you bought a box for 30 bucks and got 50 bucks worth of stuff every time. It just wouldn't work. The boxes are designed for you to lose. And while you can get some good cards, if you're looking at it from a strategy, I really don't recommend it. In fact, I would say a lot of people have probably gotten themselves into some trouble financially from doing this, especially using like credit cards or anything like that. Do not buy sealed product. I bought a lot of it. The only sealed product that I've bought recently is this sealed set of Donruss 2023. And the only reason I did is because you literally get every single card in the set. So you're not gambling on what you're gonna get or not get or what parallels you're gonna get. You just get all the rookies, you get all the set, cut and dry. That's the only kind of thing I would recommend buying if you're buying something new. Now, a really big part of the hobby is graded cards, as you probably know. And grading cards yourself or submitting cards to PSA is a really good way to make money. However, it's also a really good way to get absolutely crushed if you don't know what you're doing. When sending cards to PSA, you have to be very, very careful on what you're sending in. First of all, is that card actually valuable? Are you gonna lose money in a PSA 9? I've submitted lots of cards, and I honestly still do sometimes, where it's a 10 or a bust. Either you make good money on a 10 or you lose 20 bucks on a PSA 9. These are the types of cards that are just really tough to have success with. You can have some success if you're really, really good at telling the condition of a card. If you can be really critical, really look at things carefully with magnifying glass, centering tools, with a light, looking for scratches. If you're really, really good, you can make this play. But if you're just hoping for a 10 and not looking that closely, you're gonna get crushed. I'm gonna do a whole other video about grading later, and I'm sure lots of other people have done awesome videos about grading. But if you're gonna get into grading, don't just dive into it like I did. My first 2 batches to PSA were horrible. I submitted really stupid cards, didn't know what I was doing, didn't get great grades. It was really tough to come back from. But now I've gotten really good at grading, and I'm pretty consistently getting 60-70% of my cards in PSA 10. And the ones that I'm getting 9s are not ones that I'm losing my butt on if it gets a 9. Okay, the number 9 thing I've learned is the importance of cash flow. Inevitably, if you're sending cards to get graded, or just in general, when you're dealing in sports cards, you're gonna make bad decisions. You're gonna buy cards that you wish you hadn't have bought. You're gonna buy cards that didn't pan out. You gotta sell those cards. I see a lot of people who end up leaving the hobby because they make these cards and they sell the good ones, and they hold on to all these other bad cards that they just can't sell because they're stuck on, I just gotta sell it for what I bought it for. I gotta at least break even and break even, break even. And there are cards you're not gonna break even on. There are cards you're gonna lose money on. And you have to start to ask yourself, okay, what makes more sense? Selling this card, if you bought a card for 25 bucks and the price goes down to 10 bucks, do you wanna hold that card for 2 years and hope it goes back to 20 bucks? Or should you just sell it for 10 and move on? Take that $10 and move it into something else that could be more profitable for you. Because that $10, that money is parked into that card either way. I've learned that it's important to not hold onto these cards that were flops and didn't do well and just to hope that they go up over time. You could end up holding those cards for years and they still don't go up. So in many cases, it's better to just cut your losses. Sell it, get some cash, move that cash into something smarter. Over time, you're gonna do better that way. If you don't, you're gonna end up stuck with a crappy inventory, and then you're gonna see deals and opportunities, and you're not gonna have the cash flow to do it because your money's parked in all these crappy cards. You gotta take your L's. That's part of it. The more times you do that, the better and better you'll get. The fewer and fewer L's you'll make, the more W's. Number 10, simply have fun. This is a hobby. This is a hobby for the most people that do it. There are people that do this full time and do very well. I'm not one of those people. I have a full-time job. I have other business ventures and things that I do, but I've thoroughly enjoyed being in sports cards. And if you're new, please take these tips into consideration and just take this last bit of advice that this is meant to be something that's fun. It's not meant to be something that's giving you anxiety or stress or this extra pressure to succeed. Just have fun, enjoy it. You'll make some great deals, you'll make some bad ones. That's just part of how it is. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Check out the Instagram page. I make tons of little shorts about different trades or different things I'm doing. And I would love your feedback on this video. Please, did I miss some stuff? Do you disagree with some stuff? Really, I love to have that kind of banter in the comments. I mean, don't be a jerk about it, but thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.